It's time for the Bronco Nation News Report with four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains.
Every Friday right at this time, Prater in the ball game, we get a sweet little treat in the form of BJ Rains, as you heard the guys say, Bronco Nation News, pregame, postgame coverage, articles written, great stuff with BNN. BJ, welcome to Idaho Sports Talk. How are you on this terrific Friday, bud?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, man. Appreciate you hanging out with us, and I can't wait for this segment because we're going to go down, basically 1 through 6 in the Mountain West and look at kind of the stretch run, 5-6 games left for most of these teams in the season. I'm going to start you off, BJ, right at the top. Let's talk about the San Diego State Aztecs. They've been the flagship team in this conference for a long time, it feels. They're 12-2 in the league with a game lead in the loss column off Boise State and Nevada. What's your thoughts on San Diego State, kind of a best case, worst case scenario for them, BJ?
Well, yeah, we're looking at the Mountain West race here, but also the NCAA tournament, and they're 21-5, 12-2 in the league, and they're number 18 in the net, like you said, and they've only got 4 games left, and they're home against Colorado State, at New Mexico, at Boise State, and home against Wyoming to finish out the year. KenPom projects them to win 3 of the 4, to lose a close game in Boise. And if that's the case, they're going to finish 15-3 in the Mountain West, which means obviously that the best any of the other teams could do is tie them if both Nevada and Boise State were to win out. If you're a Boise State fan, you need New Mexico to get healthy. Not by Wednesday. You need Boise State to win this Wednesday. We'll get to them, but you need San Diego State to lose at New Mexico and then lose at Boise State. That would give them 4 losses and put Boise State in a good position there. But in terms of the tournament, they're the only team in the country, guys, 360 teams or whatever it is, that's only played 1 quad 4 game. They've only played 1 quad 4 games. Their strength of schedule is very strong. They're 2-4 in the first quadrant, 6-1 in quad 2. So San Diego State 8-5 in the first 2 quadrants, no bad losses. They're really looking strong right now for a 5 or 6 seed probably in the tournament. And like I said, they're the favorites, at least at this point in the league as well.
Yeah, quickly on this for San Diego State fans, and they're obviously going to the tournament. BJ, can they be on the 4 line, 3 line, 5 line, maybe if they were to win out? What do you think ultimately could be their best case as far as the brackets are concerned?
I think they could. I think they could at least get to a 5 because, like I said, they're already 8-5 in the first 2 quadrants. They have no bad losses. Mm-hmm. If they win out, they'd be 28-5 overall, and they'd have some more quad 1 wins. They'd get a quad 1 win in Boise, a quad 1 win at New Mexico. So yeah, they've got plenty of opportunities left. I do not think it's crazy to think San Diego State could get to the 5 line, and maybe even, they're on the 6 line for a lot of brackets right now. So if they win out, I think the 4 or 5 is definitely possible because their net ranking would probably be approaching the top 10.
All right, BJ, as we're going down the standings, Boise State falls in line next. But as we transition into Boise, I just kind of want to ask you about that San Diego State-Boise State game here on the 28th. How big is that for Boise State?
It's huge. It's a quad 1 game, and it's a game Boise State, I don't want to say has to have, but if they win that game, it certainly would add to their resume and help tremendously as they go for the tournament. I think that game is huge for both sides, but it's bigger for Boise State because it's a quad 1 game and certainly would be an opportunity for them to cement themselves. And, we'll get to them in terms of the other games coming up, but I think that's a huge game for Boise State. A lot of people, for whatever reason, when they lost that game by 20, just completely wrote Boise State off and said, okay, we can tell. All the national people that were voting for them took them out of their top 25, and they pretty much wrote them off, even though they didn't have Shaver and Degenhart was in foul trouble. So I think Boise State needs to show that they're, can play and beat the best team in the league, San Diego State. So I think that's a monster game coming up.
All right, then what is the best case, worst case scenario for Boise State with 5 games left in the regular season?
I think they can win out. I don't think it's crazy. There's no game on the schedule where you're saying they can't win that. You have New Mexico and San Diego State both at home. I think the UNLV game is crazy. Number 8 is the worst game they probably have left this whole season when you think about it in terms of going into the Mountain West tournament and who they'd play there. So the schedule's going to get progressively harder. San Jose State on the road, I think, is going to be a very sneaky game. They're only favored by 3 points on KenPom, and that is a quad 2 game. So again, wouldn't be some crushing killer loss, but if Boise State can go on a run here and win these next 4 games, UNLV, New Mexico, San Jose State, and San Diego State, they'd be playing for no worse than a share of first place in Logan in the last game of the season. So I think they've got to win 4 of the 5. I think it's possible they win all 5 and get no worse than at least a share of the title. And if they can go on a run at the Mountain West tournament again, I think that the metrics like Boise State even more this year than they did last year. I know a lot of people have them on the bubble right now. Jerry Palm has them as like an 11 seed when he came on your show, but I still think if they were to win out, they could get up to the 7-8 line as well.
BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News Report right here on Idaho Sports Talk. This is Prater in the ball game. Maybe I underestimated Steve Alford in the Nevada Wolfpack this year. I wasn't certain that Coach Alford was going to get this thing going the way they have this year. They have some big wins. They had a lot of roster turnover that a lot of teams deal with. It's just in the landscape of college basketball right now. But, I mean, there they are right in the thick of things, the Nevada Wolfpack, BJ. Best case, worst case for them.
Well, they're in a nice spot in terms of the tiebreakers and things because they've beaten each of the top 4 teams in the league. They have a win over San Diego State, a win over Boise State, a win over Utah State and New Mexico. So they've beaten the other 4 teams already. And so if they finish tied with anybody atop the standings or whatever in terms of seeding, they're going to be in pretty good shape because they go from top down and they're going to have the tiebreaker for a number of teams. So yeah, 20-6, 10-3 in the league. They've got the easiest remaining schedule. If you're a Boise State fan, you got to be rooting hard tomorrow night for Utah State. They are in Logan tomorrow night. Nevada is, and that's really the last losable game that Nevada has left on their schedule. They play at Utah State tomorrow night, but then they're at home for San Jose, at Fresno, at Wyoming, and home for UNLV. So I really think Nevada's going to win their final 4 games. It comes down to tomorrow and whether or not they get to 4 losses or not. But I think Nevada's in a really strong spot for the NCAA tournament. They're number 32 in the net. They've got 3 quad 1 wins, which is the most of any team in the conference, and they're 5-2 in the second quadrant. So they're 8-6 in the first 2 quadrants. They've done a lot of work. Their computer numbers are pretty strong. As long as they don't, have something where they go lose at Fresno and Wyoming, I think they're in very strong position to make the NCAA tournament and either win or finish, in that top 2 or 3 spots. Looks pretty much guaranteed for the conference tournament.
All right, let's drop down to Utah State. You mentioned that big game tomorrow night. Utah State's kind of the flaky team of the conference. They win 2, they lose 1. They lose 2, they win 1. They're just kind of all over the place, so you have no idea what to expect. So you're going to tell us right now what to expect.
Well, they're pretty much the opposite. They've lost all the games to the top 5 teams in the standings, except they do have 1 win over New Mexico, a home win where they beat them. But they lost, at Boise State, lost at Nevada, lost at San Diego State, lost to San Diego State at home. So they're racking up the wins, but it's against most of the weaker teams in the conference. So they do have a nice non-conference win against Oral Roberts, who's top 50 in the net. But overall, they're probably in 5th. I would have said they were in 5th place. New Mexico maybe now technically is past them, but both these teams are, I think it's 1, 2, and 3 with Boise State, Nevada, and San Diego State. And then I think there's a fairly clear drop off. I still think Utah State has a lot of work to do to get back in the tournament here because you look, the net ranking is not bad. I mean, they're sitting there at 37. But again, no quad 1 wins. They're 0-4 in quadrant 1. They've got 2 quad 4 losses. So that right there is enough probably to keep them out. When you don't have a quad 1 win and you have 2 quad 4 losses, that's not good. Utah State's got a lot of work to do still. But again, if they can find a way to beat Nevada tomorrow and beat Boise State in the final game and make a run in the tournament, I don't think it's out of the question they can get back in the mix. But right now, Utah State is not an NCAA tournament team and probably fighting for no worse than 4th place here for the conference standings.
Do you still think they're soft, BJ, Utah State? You called them soft a couple of weeks ago. Are you standing behind that statement?
I mean, again, in a lot of the more physical games of the season, they've lost those. So they don't have that big physical inside presence they used to have. They don't have the Nemi-ish Keita they can give it down to just bulldog it down in the paint. I just think that's their one weakness. They shoot a lot of threes. When they're making their threes, they win. When they don't, they can struggle at times. They're a much better team at home as well than on the road. So I think they're a good team, but are they a great NCAA tournament caliber team? I think we're going to find out here in the next couple of weeks.
Tim Miles, maybe you could make a case if that's where you want to send your vote that he's the coach of the year in this league right now at San Jose State, BJ. They have not finished with a conference record above 500. I hope you guys are ready for this. Since 1994, they have not finished above 500 in their league, any league they've played in. And when they did that, you guys, they finished 11-7 in the Big West. That's the last time San Jose's had an over 500 record in conference play. BJ, they're over 500 right now, and they've had some pretty nice wins there. San Jose State 7-6. Obviously not going to most likely win the league, but what's the best case, worst case scenario for the Spartans?
Yeah, and we're going to finish up with New Mexico at the end, but I mean San Jose State is a team that is ahead of them in the standings right now, and you mentioned all the history there, Johnny. Since San Jose joined the Mountain West, they've never had a first round bye. They've never gotten out of higher than a 5 seed in the conference tournament, and so they're fighting right now to actually not play on the opening round day of the tournament, which is crazy to think about. And you could have a New Mexico all of a sudden in the 6th game. Either Boise State or Nevada might have to play New Mexico in the quarterfinal game if San Jose State keeps winning here. And San Jose State, when Boise State goes there next Saturday, that game is closer to a quad 1 game than it is a quad 3 game. I mean, San Jose, it's impressive. They've done it on the transfer market. They kept more. They've got some guys, and they're not an NCAA tournament team this year, but they're top 100 in the net rankings. And who knows? They go on a nice finish here. I don't think it's crazy to think that they couldn't be an NIT team. I mean, San Jose State is a solid team here. So, things have to fall their way. But if you finish in the top 5 in the Mountain West standings, I think you're in the mix for the NIT. And they've got New Mexico tonight. That's a big game for them, but it is in San Jose. And we'll see if Jalen House plays or not. They still have to go to Nevada on Tuesday, and then they host Boise State. So they've still got a pretty tough schedule. But if they can finish in the top 5, I give Tim Miles Coach of the Year, and I think they're playing for a spot somewhere in the postseason.
Wow.
New Mexico's last 5 of 6, are they toast?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen House is proving his worth to this team. The leading scorer, one of the top 3 leading scorers in the Mountain West, has missed the last 2 games. But you can't go to Air Force and get blown out. You can't be home to Wyoming and get blown out. I don't care if you're without the number 3 scorer in the Mountain West. They've still got Mashburn. They've still got Udezi, the big man. They've got too much talent for that to be happening. So, they were the last undefeated team in the nation earlier this year when they were 14-0 going into the new year. And since then, it has just not really worked out for them. They are 5-7 in 2023. And they're in a lot of hurt. And I mean, they still have Boise State and they still have San Diego State. So if you win both those games, they'll have 2 quad 1 wins and get back into the discussion. But it's hard to say you expect that to happen given what we've seen the last month. So they got to get House back, and they got to win tonight at San Jose State to have any shot.
Who's winning the league this year, BJ Rains? Let the world know right now.
I think we're going to have a tie. I think there's going to be multiple teams, and I don't know if that's me going out on a limb or not. But I think Boise State beats San Diego State, and so I think Boise State is going to finish with 4 conference losses. I think San Diego State loses 2 games and finishes with 4 conference losses. I'm going to say 3-way tie. I think San Diego State, Boise State, Nevada all finish at 14-4.
Go to BroncoNationNews.com. Our partnership with BNN here at KTIK. He's got pregame, he's got postgame shows, he's got interviews with everybody. Subscribe. Go to BroncoNationNews.com. BJ, good stuff as always, man. Enjoy the weekend, and I will see you Sunday at the X, man.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We're covering gymnastics tonight, women's basketball tomorrow, and then we'll see you guys Sunday for the men's game against UNLV. Appreciate it.
There you have it. BJ Rains, good stuff. Prater, who's winning the league in your opinion? You want to go on the crystal ball for me right now?
Yeah, but I'll go San Diego State.
You go San Diego State. I'm going to go San Diego State as well. Obviously not going on any type of limb there. I think they've been the best team in the league this year, and I think over the last 4, 5, 6 games of the season, they will prove that. And question is for me is, can they win the conference tournament and maybe be a team from the Mountain West that might be able to get out of the first weekend? As far as my memory serves, no Mountain West team has been out of the first weekend since that Martin Twin Nevada team coached by Eric Musselman a few years back when they lost to JP's sister Jean in the Sweet 16 round. So good stuff with BJ Rains. Bob Beeler comes in for the news. And how about Rock Jocks Pop Culture? 50